Hey, what's going on, folks? I'm Clay with the Clay Way here in Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Michigan, and today we're working on a 35th anniversary V8 Chevy Camaro. We're going to show you how to get this alternator out the easiest way possible, and I'm going to show you the steps on how to do this. One of the first things you need to know if you've had an alternator problem, it's a possibility that the automobile won't shut off. If you ever have a situation where the automobile won't shut off, take out the ignition relay while it's running and turn your key off, and it should shut off. We had a problem with not being able to turn the key off on this automobile, and we have an alternator issue. We're hoping that they're the same thing, but we're going to find that out. So if you ever have a car that won't shut off, pull the ignition relay. It'll shut off. Now, your first inkling is going to be to jump through the video to the spot that you want. I don't have a problem with that, but it kills the analytics of a channel. So when you find the spot that you want, start the video over, turn the volume down, let the video play. Greatly appreciate that very much here at the Clay Way. So like I said before, my name's Clay, and I believe my job here on YouTube is to inspire and empower folks just like you to do things like this. Keep mechanics out of your old corn purse and keep some money back in your back pocket. If this video is helpful, please consider subscribing, clicking the notification, sharing my videos, and give me that sweet old thumbs up. If you've got a question for me, I answer them for absolutely free. I don't collect any of your information. I don't care about your baby mama drama. But if I can help you with a car, I certainly will. So you can look me up on Clay's AC and Auto Repair, and I'll try to answer everybody that I possibly can for as long as I possibly can. Remember, no matter what it is in life, if anyone else can do it, I promise you can do it too. And if my video is helpful and you want to help us out even more, put on one of the sweet Clay Way playlists at nighttime. Turn that old volume down while you're going to sleep. Let them videos play. Let's get going with removing this alternator. First thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery. This seems rather obvious. Most people think that other people are stupid and don't know that. So if you forget to tell somebody in a video to disconnect the battery, you get a bunch of hate mail telling you how stupid other people are because I didn't tell them how to disconnect the battery, which seems kind of more redundant, like standing underneath a lawn dart. You wouldn't do that either. So why wouldn't you disconnect the battery on a car when you're working on electrical? This is really a simple process. We're going to disconnect these two connectors, loosen the two clamps that hold the airbox down, and the 4 10mm bolts, removing the cover for the air filter and the air filter, then completely disconnecting them connectors and also loosening the two clamps that are holding it down. Pulling up these two pushies right here, we'll pull that out of there, and then it should be ready to come out. Using a 15mm, we're going to relieve the tension off the belt by pushing it towards the driver's side of the car or clockwise. Whenever possible, you want to slide belts off of the flattest pulley possible. It's also easiest to put them back on the flattest pulleys possible during installation. Just in case you don't have a sticker or it's wore off, reinstallation of the belt goes like this, and there is a separate belt for the air conditioner compressor. We're going to take a 15mm and remove this idler pulley because it's going to make things easier during the process of removing the alternator. Once you get the bolt removed, you should be able to just slide it off of there. On the back of mine, there's a washer there, and on the front, there's a washer there. Different years will vary. Now we need to jack the vehicle up and rest it on jack stands. Underneath most vehicles, and pretty much any vehicle, there's going to be what's called pinch welds. In this situation, this vehicle has a full frame. Normally, we would jack it up on this solid spot right here, but when it has a full frame, we want to jack it up on the frame itself, right up underneath there. Apparently, there was some kind of idiot working on this car before that didn't know how to use a frickin' jack or where to place it. That's unacceptable. Now taking a 15mm, we're going to loosen these three bolts up here. Now this bolt up here in the center of that circle holds on this mount. And there's probably another bolt that's holding that mount on there that we're going to remove, because that mount is going to allow us to move the alternator around once we get it out of the pinches right down here. Now, when we remove this bolt and we loosen that top bolt up there, we're going to want to take and swing this alternator as much as possible out of here before we remove this bolt. The reason for that is because this is a pinch bolt. As this bolt tightens, the back side of it will pinch in on the alternator to keep it stable. And over time, that's gonna get really stiff. So we'll take a nice pry bar and we'll pry that up out of that collar. Up on the back side of the alternator, there's a 13mm bolt that needs to be loosened as well that's attached to a bracket back there. That bolt is located right there up above the electrical connector. If you don't have to see things, and since I'm blind, I don't often need to see them, I can just quite simply reach a wrench behind the back side of the power steering down onto the back of the alternator to loosen and remove that bolt. You can see that bolt very well right down through the top right here. I loosened the bolt up with my long 13mm gear wrench, then I put my stubby gear wrench on there and I'm able to turn it very easy. I waited to remove my last front bolts because it makes it easier to remove the rear bolt when there's not tension or pressure on the bracket. Now I've got all my bolts loose, and once I remove this last one, it simply drops down. Now on the back side of here, there's a vent. So we're gonna lift up on the alternator, make sure it clears the front cover, and wiggle it as far forward as possible. Sliding this bracket out of the way and right off of the lines. Now taking a flathead screwdriver, we can start pulling this bracket up out of the way. There's several places and options that you can pull it up out of there. From the back of here, we just need to slide it away from the alternator and get it unpinched. With the bracket unattached from the alternator, we can move it out of the way. Then going to the rear of the alternator by lifting it up, we'll be able to gain access to the 13mm nut that's holding the positive cable onto the rear of the alternator. Make sure that your battery is disconnected. And taking a pick tool, we'll be able to remove the rear electrical clip that actuates the alternator during engine operation. Right here, we will remove the dust cover, electrical boot, and gain access to the 13mm nut and remove the positive terminal cable. Now on the top side of the alternator, we have a little single wire coming off of there that's held on by a little clip. Now with the wire removed, we should be able to maneuver the alternator up out of its place. A little wiggling and a little jiggling, little man jiggling. You'll get this thing out of here. It's a little bit sticky, but it'll definitely come out. Move some of the cables gently, some of the hoses and stuff. She'll pop right out of there. And ha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. She's out of there. You know, I kind of defeated myself in my mind because people kept on telling me how hard this alternator was to change. To be honest with you, I've never changed one, and this took me like maybe 30 minutes, plus the video, of course, but it was not difficult, I promise you. If anyone else can do it, you can do it too. Real quick, I just wanted to touch base on this bracket. As you tighten up these bolts, these collars are gonna push outward. So taking a socket and knocking them down will make it easier to install your new alternator. Now, I know a lot of you bad mamby-jambies out there think that you don't need to check this stuff, but I do recommend checking pulley sizes, making sure the orientation of the bolt holes are the same, and as far as the rear goes, make sure that they are identical as well, so you don't run into any problems when you get this thing up in here and bolted down and your belt won't fit or your plugs won't plug in. Also, ensure that your bracket fits in there easily and is easily removable and easily placeable. to avoid not being able to get it up in there easily. And take a little bit of pride in what you do and have your numbers pointed towards your radiator so when somebody looks at it, they can read it. Now, another thing you want to check for when your vehicle won't start or you're having trouble is this car has been very well taken care of, and it still has the covers over the battery covers, and we can see tons of corrosion down in there. That's going to cause problems. Now, on a lot of automobiles, all I would do is I would take my razor blade and I would cut this off and then clean it. But on this particular car, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to take a wire brush and I'm going to take some compressed air and I'm going to blow as much of that stuff out of there as possible. But if you don't have a classic, I guess, you know, now it's a classic. I didn't think much about them years ago, but now I guess they are. We want to do a little bit better of job and take a little bit of pride in our work. We could replace this battery cable. That would also work as well. Now, if you don't break the wire like me, you should have a little bit over 14 volts at an idle, unlike the 13.5 that we had before. So now we've got a good alternator replacement. Well, I'm certain with my video, you were successful in getting that alternator in and out, and it wasn't that bad. If you watched other videos, you know what I'm saying. They made it seem terrible. Anyways, remember, if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. I got to get back to some Ford fuckery back here and get on some work. Please consider subscribing, clicking the notification, sharing my videos. Give me them sweet thumbs up. If you've got a question for me, you can hit me up on Clay's AC and Auto Repair on the Facebook Messenger. I can't help you with that old baby mama drama, but I may be able to help you fix that whip. At nighttime, if you want to help the channel out, turn the volume down, put on one of the sweet Clayway playlists, let them suckers play from front to back. Push that join button. That helps the channel out tremendously. God bless, folks. Have the best of days.